Hello and welcome to Bird & Bird's Retail Therapy podcast, where we explore the trends, changes and legal aspects of the retail and consumer industries. I'm Nicola Conway and I'm a Senior Associate in Bird & Bird's Retail and Consumer team.
And I'm Sana Malik, I'm a trainee solicitor also at Bird & Bird. In today's episode, we're going to be speaking about updates in retail tech in China. And we're joined by our colleague Serena Du, who is Senior Associate in the Corporate and Commercial Group based in Bird & Bird, Shanghai. Serena, would you be so kind as to give a little introduction on yourself and your practice, please?
Sure, thanks, Nicola and Sana. My pleasure to join you guys today. As mentioned, I'm Serena from Bird & Bird Shanghai office. I have been with our Bird & Bird team for 7 years. I mainly cover our commercial and regulatory practice in China. So from our past experience in advising the multinational companies in retail sector, we find some really fascinating and interesting trend and updates. I'm very happy to be here to share them with our audience.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us, Serena. Let's get into the episode. So, Serena, can you fill us in on some of the key retail tech being used in China right now?
So certainly very happy to answer this question. Over the past decade and even more in the past few years, we found the retail sector in China has been disrupted and transformed by those new technology development dramatically. And all the companies in retail sector are trying very hard to catch up with the speed of the technology development. For example, we found the mobile payment in China has got the highest penetration rate than pretty much anywhere else in the world. So, for example, nowadays, almost 70% of the total population in China have happily embraced the mobile payment technology in their daily life. So the active users will use a payment for literally everything, like taking the subway, taking the taxi, buying grocery, or even pay in full hospital. So this number in 2018, like 5 years ago, is only 40%. And back in 10 years ago, it is only 10%. So we can see the fast growth rate of mobile payment penetration. This adoption of mobile payment, I think, has cultivated a very unique e-commerce and payment ecosystem that basically differs China from any other major economic market. So, for example, the companies in China are more focused on their retail channel through the mobile portal other than through the PC end. And China now has totally skipped a generation of the PC payment and the digital payment through the credit cards. And so to use a mobile payment in China, you don't need to go to the bank and apply for a credit card based on your personal credibility. The cash payments also currently have become in practice unavailable. So this quickly transferring China into a cashless society. So if you come to visit China these days, the shop even don't have the change for any cash payment, even they are not supposed to reject cash under the law. So this can show you how the solution offered by Alibaba and WeChat, these giant tech companies, they can offer very secure and trusted like escrow account service and real-time payment between the merchants and the consumers. They're much easier to access than those traditional bank card payment portal, and the payment process is more seamless that can be done within just a blink, few seconds. So meanwhile, they boost the retail sector by taking the role as a trusted third party. So this is very important to ensure the authenticity of the online transaction, which is a major concern to e-commerce users. So we think mobile payment is quite a unique technical development for retail sector. And also, we found, for example, that those apps on our mobile phone nowadays are more and more integrated, and all the apps in China now is trying to be the all-in-one and to create its closed loop ecosystem to capture all the transaction. So, give you an example. Each time when I use an app to navigate my direction in the city in Shanghai, I always found a new function has been launched each time I use it. So it enabled like much more function than just map searching. At the beginning, if I, for example, I can call a taxi through the map, that is quite predictable, not much surprise. And then later on, I found I can even make a reservation directly for the restaurant that I located on the map, purchase the ticket for a park that I'm going to head to, that I found on the map. And even nowadays, I can check the lease price of the office building that I'm going to visit. So this is totally start to beyond my imagination. And this development trend, I think, is one of the reason for companies in China in real sector, they have to deploy the so-called omni-channel marketing strategy to cover all the online channel for marketing purpose. So because each map will essentially become a potential destination where the customer will close a transaction. So the business, they need to provide a very consistent, seamless shopping experience across all the channels with a customer-centric approach. So this is, I think, the trend for the companies in retail in China to stand out. So above us, like interesting example I observed of the new tech in China retail.
Wow, that is fascinating. I mean, I think in the UK we're making a lot of progress in the advanced payment processes that you talk about, but I can't think, at least off the top of my head, of any of those all-in-one apps. I mean, I definitely cannot see lease rental rates on my Google Maps. Sana, have you seen anything like that?
No, and that kind of anticipating predictive technology that Serena's talking about, I've never seen anything like that. It'll be so exciting to get something like that here. I've not seen anything or experienced that before.
Do you think, Serena, that there are any reasons as to why China retail tech has seemingly progressed so much more quickly than elsewhere?
Yes, I think it is mainly driven by the demand from the consumer end. Because nowadays, the Chinese consumer, let's say the millennials or Gen Z, they are increasingly tech savvy with a growing preference for online shopping, for example, due to its convenience, variety, and competitive pricing. So that's why the fast development of the digital retail products to satisfy the consumer needs. And also, I think this is partially thanks to the government initiative and policies because the government still play a very crucial role to foster this environment, this digital e-commerce environment. And I think this will inject more variety and volatility to the economy because those digital retail products can support those small and medium-sized companies like located, for example, very far from the downtown. And this can also encourage innovation and also keep all the sectors more closely connected. And then everyone can keep pace with the evolving digital landscape. So I think this would be our ultimate goal for other parties.
That's so interesting. Thanks, Serena. It's so interesting to hear about how demographic is just so influential in this area. If we look specifically then at e-commerce or consumer purchasing, what seems to be the most popular apps or platforms right now? I know you've touched on this a little bit. And which companies seem to be dominating, in your opinion?
To me, I would say I'm still quite old school that I would choose Taobao, which is like more specialized in online shopping on e-commerce. But however, nowadays it seems TikTok and WeChat is all catching up to share this piece of cake for the online shopping. Like for example, TikTok, they are famous for their online shopping through the live stream. And WeChat is more famous for their shopping within the private circle, like for example, within your group of friends. So these shopping apps, they each have their specific niche target market or target user.
And as well as the more traditional e commerce platforms, live streaming selling in China seems to be more popular than at least what we've seen in the UK. Is that expected to continue to grow in popularity, do you think?
Yes, I think live streaming in China is more than just showing the products, for example. It's like stepping into someone's life. Like, for example, when you watch an influencer sharing their daily life, you get familiar with them, and it's like meeting a friend you trust, and you hope to like check what are they using, what's their recommendation. And I think this trust is, as I mentioned earlier, is very important for shopping online. And once the trust is established, then you can like develop further business from it, like trusted business from it. And when, for example, the influencer, they chat about their favorite products and with their specific function, and this is like when you are socializing with your own friends, and the TikTok is doing something similar with those algorithm and through the live videos and making promotion feel real and genuine. So I think once you conquer that barrier of trust, the live streaming shopping experience can be quite fun. Also, I hope to share some like difference when I travel, for example, in Europe on the train. I still saw some people reading books, and that's really fascinating because in Shanghai, if I, for example, take the subway, literally almost everyone checking their phones. And when I saw people reading books, it made me somehow like nostalgic. And I think it also shows probably in some area, people still prefer their own way of lifestyle. So I think that's also quite cool just to, see the old school variety, type of variety.
I think there was a bit of a reversal of trend where a lot of people went back to reading paper books, and we saw loads of new secondhand online bookstores opening up. So when you finish your book, you can send it to this secondhand store and they can resell it, and they're really, really good prices, like maybe £1 or £2 or whatever. Because a lot of people did, as you say, want to go back to reading paper books. So maybe we're just a bit behind.
That's so interesting, your point, Serena, about being nostalgic for books. I love the way you put that as well. Here in the UK, we're seeing a difference, I think, in the influencer culture. And in fact, there's, like Nicola said, it's kind of a retrend to go back to physical books. And something that's extremely popular here at the moment is book talk. So a lot of influencers are speaking about their favorite books, like a few second key highlights or themes or archetypes of characters are really highlighted on several, accounts and kind of key influencer pages on Book Talk, as it's coined now. It's become so popular that so many kind of books have been adapted into Netflix series and shows this way. It's been picked up by various companies because of the exposure on TikTok. And also, even if you go into a Waterstones now in the UK, they've actually got a book talk table. So that's just how much the madness has kind of like seized the UK in this respect. I think our influencer market is quite different here as well in the UK. So a lot of like the Instagram/TikTok people will have a lot of like the real books or, kind of like the real life old school things, but then they'll have one product that is like the new technology piece, like, the new protein shake mixer or something like that. And it really showcases then that new technology, like contrasted with reading the books or like the yoga in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, and also I think I'm not sure if this is one of the reasons is often people in US or Europe, I found they're more from the result driven perspective in terms of shopping is that once they have particular things they need, they will go shopping. Like for example, I asked my friend why they are not watching the live stream because you have to wait for a long time when you watch the live stream until some interesting product you like pop up. Otherwise, it will be just a line of products, one after each. Then you're not sure if you like every single product the influencer are presenting to you. So it's like you just wander around for window shopping. Whereas some people may find it like a waste of time. But if it's just for entertainment purpose, you are like watching a show, and then that part of waiting is acceptable. Otherwise, probably I think live streaming may consider as like not very shopping like result focused shopping experience. It's more entertainment focused experience.
I'm with you. I think I would find that highly entertaining. I'm the kind of person who still watches YouTube videos, even though I know how to do the makeup. I just enjoy watching them do it and then tell me what to buy, and I just go and buy it.
Yeah.
So, if we pivot away a little bit from B2C relationships and just look a second here at B2B relationships, are companies also using a lot of tech in that aspect? For example, are you seeing supply chains being heavily tech influenced or heavily tech powered?
Yes, we have heard a lot about this through the like marketing promotion of those companies. For example, to deploy those artificial intelligence or those buzzword like Internet of Things, blockchain, or other emerging technology. We've seen some brands are making their supply chain more flexible to adjust like the real-time frontline sales result to reduce their warehouse inventory and also to provide more accurate estimate enabled by those technologies that they deployed. And also, for example, we have client, they claim to have visualized a real-time supply chain. So this can enable the companies to track their cargoes and also to track those information of logistics very quickly and detect and solve those problems in the supply. So they rely on the robots in the factory and they develop some smart analytics to streamline the inventory forecasting and planning. And as well as the category selection, procurement, relocation at the consumer end. So these companies, I think, can make their required investment more wisely and to choose, for example, the right service provider. They can manage the data and improve the efficiency of the supply chain, ultimately to reduce the cost and provide better product to the consumer.
So interesting to hear just how streamlined things are getting. And as a final thought here, what would you say are the key legal risks that non China based brands should keep in mind if they're considering or in the process of expanding retail operations into selling in China during 2024?
So I think these technologies has bring more challenging legal risk for foreign brands that they must be aware of. For example, we have seen some developments through the cross-border e-commerce, and the product need to check that whether their product still subject to the prior registration before the product enter into China. And also, we hope to share with client that the data localization requirement in China has further development that you need to keep an eye on whether the database for your China consumer has been fall into the category or not, and this may hinder your business in China. So, for example, when you compete with other companies in the same sector in China, you need to be aware of those unfair competition restriction. And also for the online IP infringement, the authority may also have different view in each perspective. And also, we've seen some anti-monopoly issue in terms of pricing, especially if you work with a distributor. And that is a very sensitive topic in China, whether you can restrain the retail price. And also, more importantly, for advertising compliance, that in China the law is like more restrict than most of other jurisdictions. So we have to consider whether the content is misleading or subject to certain censorship. And also, if you want to develop some online business, you need to check whether your business is subject to any license requirement, which sometimes the foreign investment is restricted. And at last, we've seen some commercial risk when companies are cooperating with those influencer. You also need to check under the contractual law whether your terms are against those mandatory terms or not. So above are the risks that we hope to share with our clients.
Okay, wow, lots to think about. If anyone listening wants to learn more about any of those considerations or any of the retail concepts that we've talked about today, just reach out. We can always set up a call and share more information. Thank you, Serena, so much for sharing your experience of retail tech. I found that absolutely fascinating. Let's close this episode with a fun little question. Serena and then Sana, what's something that you purchased recently that you love?
So for me, recently when I traveled to US and Europe, one thing I think may bring up some cultural difference is that I think we Chinese we drink a lot of hot water, which is quite unusual for my friends overseas. So each time when I ask for hot water, everyone looks surprised because normally people would drink like ice water or just room temperature water. So that's why when I travel this time, I bought a heated travel mug, which can be charged by the USB cable. So I can have my hot water anywhere where I can charge my phone.
I love that. That's amazing. For me, it's an oldie but a goodie product. So it's a repurchase of niacinamide from the Ordinary Company, which is perfect for people who are getting slightly drier skin with all the heating on or like the colder weather outside. So it's great for that and also reducing fine lines for anyone who's beginning to get their first few lines. It's a highly recommended product. And Nicola, what about you?
I'm so excited to tell you mine because, Serena, I didn't know that you were going to bring up books earlier. But the thing I was going to talk about is I've actually bought an app, a paid subscription app, which is very unlike me. I'm very much a free app kind of person. It's called Headway, and it's basically summaries of books. It gives you like a short synopsis of the book. So it might just be 5 minutes or it might be 15 minutes, and it kind of tells you the key themes of the book. And I think probably one of the main reasons people get this app is if maybe they aren't a reader, aren't a big reader, and or don't like reading paper books. So they kind of want to digest a book in that really quick, efficient way, maybe on a commute. I actually am a big reader and I prefer to read paper books. So I keep this list on my phone of all of the books that I want to get. It's one in, one out in my flat at the moment for books because I commit way too much storage space to books. So anyway, long story short, this app is really cool for me to basically get a feel for a book before I buy it. And actually, I listened to a couple of summaries and they encouraged me to go ahead and buy the book, versus I listened to a couple of other summaries and I thought, oh, do you know what? That book probably isn't for me. It doesn't sound as though it's quite what I thought it was about. So I think it's great. I'm loving it.
That sounds fun, like a trailer of each book.
Oh, that's a better way of describing it, Serena. You're absolutely right. It's like a trailer for a book. Perfect.
All right, that's the end of our episode. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to join us for more retail and consumer discussions, don't forget to subscribe to be notified when the next episode goes live. We hope to see you there. You can listen wherever you listen to your podcasts.